Harriet McDougall is going to speak to us on user-centered design. She's the designer, illustrator, and occasional writer dabbling in social history, cartography, and well-being. She's currently creating products for public service innovators FutureGov. Over to Harriet.
Thank you. Hello everyone, hi. My name's Harriet McDougall. I'm a designer working at FutureGov. For those who don't know, we do design and tech for public service innovation. Obviously that means that user-centered design is integral to what we do. I want to tell you a little bit about our latest project, Popcash, as it's kind of a good example about how good design practice sometimes means tearing up the original brief and starting again from scratch. So, when we first started off, we were granted funding to create a short-term loan app for credit unions to compete with payday lenders like Wonga, kind of a Wonga for good. And we got a lot of positive feedback on this idea. We thought it would be kind of an easy thing to implement potentially, so we kind of went into the project feeling pretty optimistic that it was going to be, a great project. But getting further into the research, there's a really good reason why Wonga are so successful, and it's basically because sometimes people with bad credit desperately need money at the last minute, and Wonga can facilitate money into somebody's bank account within 5 minutes, basically no questions asked. And they're also famous for their UX design, so financial literacy kind of is cushioned by their website. The fact that they have 3,000% APR actually doesn't put people off at all. So the long-term commitment thing really puts people off. Wonga are really in demand, so we were looking at ways that credit unions might be able to copy some of the things that Wonga were doing that made them so successful. The problem is that credit unions really don't like payday loans. They can't afford to give short-term loans because they've got an APR cap of 26%, which is ethical, but it means that granting somebody £300 for a month, they only make a £6 profit on, which they basically can't afford. They also don't want to endorse short-term loans because it's not financially responsible, so that's not something that they want their members to do. And also, from what we saw of credit unions, none of them have the tech infrastructure to be able to compete for speed. By this point, we were quite a long way into the research and starting to think, okay, obviously this brief seems a little bit misguided. What are we going to do? And for me, particularly, this is when I started to get really scared. Basically, we were so close into this research, and there was so much of it, and the world of kind of financial vulnerability is so complicated that it took a little while and a few steps taken backwards to be able to really see the wood for the trees. Actually, once we went away and came back to all the research that we'd gathered, we realised that actually what we had was a much more complete picture of the broader contextual problems around, cultural problems around problem debt and the catalysts which can lead to problem debt. So it probably won't come as a surprise to hear me say that the banks are quite guilty of getting people into debt in the first place. They sell credit to people who can't afford it, people as young as 16, and it kind of proliferates this attitude that debt's normal, and it's just a really unhealthy thing to do. Not only that, they don't offer any advice, and people incur massive penalty fees, which are often the first catalyst for getting people into trouble. It goes without saying, there's a problem around financial literacy, which the banks and people like Wonga are able to capitalise on. And there's a big tendency for people who are in problem debt to avoid the problem because of the stigma and embarrassment around being in debt. So it means that they'll wait often up to a year, or Step Change have said that most of their clients wait up to a year before actually seeking help. So we basically tore up our previous brief and wrote a new one. And we decided to target some of our solutions at the behaviours that we could see were leading to the problem debt. These include avoidance, missed payments, juggling income and direct debits, overspending, and generally feeling that you would always be in debt, so why try and act more financially responsibly? So what Popcash has become now is our response and answer for these issues. It's a money management tool that collates all the information for your essential payments into one place and texts you to let you know when they're due. It also encourages you to stay in touch with your providers and signposts help if you can't pay. It only shows you your bank balance that you have available after your essential payments have left your account, so you don't end up spending money that you don't have. So, despite all the anxiety it's induced, tearing up the brief was probably the best thing we could have done in the circumstances. The challenge now, of course, is to ensure the solutions we've come up with are the ones that the users genuinely want, and that the features, deadlines and aesthetics, as important as they are, take a back seat to the user need. Thanks very much.